Hi, this is Jason Nickleby, Assistant Director with the Minnesota State High School League, and this is basketball officiating training tape number 5. We're well into January here, about a month or so before the section tournaments start up, so still plenty of basketball to go, and keep up the great work at having solid pre-games and looking through the Mechanics Illustrated and the rules book so we can have really good games as we move forward. Again, when we're looking at these plays, not picking on any one player or team or official or crew, just trying to learn from these plays and trying to foster a discussion as officials prior to each game to make sure that we can be on as much of the same page as possible as we move forward. So, with that, let's take a look at some plays. On this first one, we have a transition play, and we've talked about coverage on transition before, that it's really not ideal to be even up with the action because we just have a greater opportunity to get straight lined on a play like this, especially when there's a number of players in the neighborhood. So let's either get to the end line and beat them there, or we need to try to stop about the free throw line extended, come to a stop, be stationary at the time of contact. Our accuracy is going to be a lot higher, and we're used to taking plays from the center position during the game anyway. So um, try to be conscious of that. That if you're even up with the players, our judgment, our angle tends to be compromised when that happens. Now, with that said, as a reminder, on legal guarding position and how it's established, that we need to have 2 feet on the floor facing our opponent. And then once we do that, we can maintain it legally by moving backwards, obliquely, laterally, rising vertically in our plane A to A, and so forth. And if we do that, then contact, if significant enough, causes displacement, would be charged to the offensive player. But in this case, it appears that as we're getting near the basket, the defender never really establishes guarding position, doesn't get 2 feet facing the opponent. They're facing the sideline more so. And once the contact is made, she never really established legal guardian position. And the rule doesn't say they have to be set, doesn't have to be that they need to be stationary. That's not in the rule. Once they establish legal guardian position, they just need to maintain it legally, and they do so, then the contact is charged to the offense. But in this case, I believe that the defensive player never really establishes legal guardian position, and therefore, when the contact is made here, the foul is properly charged to the defensive player. So, um, some things to be aware of on legal guardian position and transition coverage, things we've talked about before, but just a reminder when we have these kinds of plays, these are the types of items that we should think about. On this one, we're going to have a bounce pass into the paint that has a number of deflections, and the trail is going to keep the ball for a throw in the front court. So, first of all, um, no reset of the shot clock here. We had no change of team control. So we said leave the shot clock where it is. Secondly, anytime that we have a deflection out of bounds, the throw in is going to take place exactly where it goes out of bounds. It doesn't go to one of the 4 ticks when we have a out of bounds play off of a deflection. So this should be exactly where they are putting it here for the ensuing throw in. So that part is all great. And then if we come with help um, on this lead, we should only come if we're absolutely certain that the call should be different than what was made. Because if we have help mechanics, we're going to make a change, and the calling official is going to change here. And I think this is just too tight to get involved in relative to help mechanics. So we're just going to let the trails call stand, and we're going to leave it as is. We just don't want to get involved unless we're 100% sure that we're going to make a change. So let's stick with the trails call on this one. And then from administering the throw in, our mechanics, remember that when we have a spot throw in beneath the free throw line extended, the lead is going to bounce the ball to the thrower, and then they will go back to officiating their primary coverage area. The trail will administer the throw in. So they will have their hand in the air, they will do the visible count, and then they will chop once the throw in is legally touched inbounds. So just a reminder on our mechanics relative to administering a throw in beneath the free throw line extended in the front court. The lead is going to bounce the ball, and then the trail will administer the throw in. On this one, we have a late transition three-pointer right before the end of the game. And off of the rebound, we're going to have a deflection off of the defensive team after they've gained control, and we're going to have a front court throw in. So, a couple things on this play, positioning, mechanics, and then a rules piece. So, we have a shot attempt that hits the rim. It is rebounded, recovered, controlled by the defensive team, which means we should have a 35-second shot clock in that case. When he dribbles it back out towards the sideline, there is some contact, but not enough to warrant that kind of a reaction. So um, if we wanted to call a block here, I could go with that, but he does beat him there. So I'm all in all, I'm fine with the no call here. You probably could pick either team, and it's not significant contact, so a no call I think is fine. And once that occurs, the player in the white jersey, he fumbles the ball and it goes out of bounds. So once that occurs, the shot clock is going to be set to 20 seconds because the former offensive team has violated, which results in a front court throw in for the new offense. So we're going to have a 20-second shot clock in this case. So we would need to make sure that that is the case. And then notice our throw in mechanics. This is um, exactly what we want, just as we discussed on the previous play, that anytime we have a spot throw in beneath the free throw line extended in the front court, the lead will bounce the ball and then the trail will administer the throw in, and that's what we do here. So well done on that. I think we handled this play really well. Just some considerations on shot clock, on positioning, and we work really low as the new center. That's also really good. So just again, considerations on our positioning mechanics, and then shot clock and administering the ensuing throw-in. Well done by the crew on this play. Mechanics in the front court and restricted arc plays on this one. So you see we have a dribble drive to the basket. It comes from the C side. So let's start with our positioning as the center. We're good. We should just stay put at the free throw line extended. Don't move. Just stay put and officiate that matchup from there. And we would have a closely guarded count until she starts dribbling. And then keep an eye on the defender. The head and shoulders do get past her torso. So if there's any contact by that defender from behind, this should be a foul charge to the defense. I don't think there's much contact from her, and so a no call is fine. However, just noting that she did not maintain legal guarding position. So if there's any contact by that defender with the dribbler, the shooter, that foul should be charged to the defense. And then when we have dribble drives from the center's area or in the center's area and they go to the basket, the center is going to take that all the way to the basket, except anytime that we have contact or potential uh, foul situation involving a secondary defender anywhere in the paint, that is the lead's primary responsibility, and they need to rule on that. So if you watch this dribble drive again, the dribbler gets past the primary defender, and this other defender she encounters is a secondary defender by rule. Does she establish legal guarding position? Yes, she does. She gets 2 feet on the floor facing her opponent. However, she establishes initial legal guarding position in the restricted area and is grounded at the time of contact. This is a restricted area blocking foul, and we need to call this. This needs to come from lead. Again, I realize that we probably no called a play like this in the past, but with the restricted arc rule, and we've talked about this on probably every tape so far, we really need to get better at leads, picking up secondary defenders, figuring out where they establish legal guarding position. Is it in or out of the restricted area? If they don't establish it, it's just a regular blocking foul. If they do establish and it's in the restricted area and they're grounded at the time of contact, that needs to be called as a restricted area blocking foul. So let's really work on that leads and being aware of the secondary defender and what they can and can't do. On this one, we have a dribble drive to the basket. Trails, we probably can work a little bit lower. And then if the dribble drive goes away from us, we can take a step or two onto the court and pick up that dribble drive. But we are in pretty good initial position uh, for the whole crew. And then we're going to have a dribble drive down the opposite lane line from the trail. So, trail, once it gets to that elbow area, we're going to now defer to the center and the lead as that play develops. So, we do a good job of that. Let this play develop and go into our crewmates' primary area of coverage. Now, you'll see that we have a shooting foul that's called by the lead, and I just want to caution us as all officials, but leads in particular when we have situations like this, let's not anticipate. I think we anticipated that a foul was going to occur just because she took a pretty big swing. But if you look at the replay here, it appears that this is a pretty good block. And not only that, the ball appears to go off of the shooter's hands and should be a throw in awarded to the defense. So we need to be careful here, slow down our mechanics. We can anticipate what might occur, but let's not anticipate a foul and put air in the whistle on block shots. And that's what we have here. We have a pretty good block that goes out of bounds off of the offensive player, and we should give the throw in to the defense. So um, another way we can avoid this is unless it's a true secondary defender potential restricted area play, we probably should defer to the center on this, draw a line right down the middle of the paint, and let the center have this play. And if they call a foul, they call a foul. If they don't, they don't. But I think the best way that we can avoid putting air in the whistle on a block shot like this on the opposite side of the paint is deferring to the center on a play like this, because we're not going to be able to initiate a rotation because the ball is on the trail side. So we're not going to move as the lead. We're going to close down towards the lane line, but we're not going to initiate a rotation, and we need the center to own that side of the paint and officiate that matchup at the basket. And I think if we do that, we probably pass on this one as a clean block shot. This is the very first possession of the game, and we're going to have a entry pass into the paint that the offensive player is able to score on. And I just want you to take a look at this post player and how he moves down that lane line and into a legal defender and appears to clear him out, we would support an offensive foul in this play. And um, I get it, right off the jump, we're trying to get settled in and get our groove and so forth, but we need to be ready to officiate as well as soon as the game starts. And it appears on this particular sequence that the offensive player, the post, goes right down that lane line and uses his arm and shoulder to displace this legal defender, especially at the end of this play. So let's be aware of that. Let's be ready to officiate. And let's not allow offensive post players to clear defenders, legal defenders out, and create that separation, that space by playing through them using an extended arm or shoulder and so forth. We need to call this as an offensive foul, especially early in the game, and be ready to officiate right off the tap. On this one, I want to talk front court coverage and responsibilities. And we're going to have a block shot that, or a block shot attempt that is, that we're going to have a foul called by trail on the opposite side of the paint. In this defensive player number 13, his block is definitely clean. But if you watch the replay here, the other defender definitely um, gets his elbow and arm right over the arm of the shooter. And so this is absolutely a shooting foul and is the correct call. And it's at a really critical part of the game. We're getting down near the end. And so our focus needs to be really high. And this is one we could miss, certainly, because 23, after he um, gets the arm of the shooter, he does go both with both arms straight up in the air, with which could lead us to potentially miss this one. But we do get this. My only thing on this play is how do we get this from center, or how do we get this from lead potentially? Um, this is a long ways to come from trail. It's absolutely a shooting foul. I'm good with that. It's one we need to call. But as the trail, we're a long ways away, and we certainly, as the trail, need to get to the 28-foot mark. That would make this call a lot more believable. Again, it's correct, but coming from trail from a long ways away, it is hard to believe, especially when that one defender has a clean block. So um, let's work to get lower. Let's work to get an angle as center and as lead. Lead, even though this is on the other half of the paint, it is involving contact with a secondary defender. So I would hope that we would at least have a look at this. And then trail, let's have a real patient whistle. Allow center and lead to get a look at this, put air in the whistle as needed, and then if they don't do that and we have one as obvious as this, then fine, come and get it. But let's get to the 28-foot mark as well. And I do like that we close on the action as we call the foul and do our spot mechanics. That part is really good. I'm just wondering about center and lead. How do we improve our positioning to perhaps see this contact and get that foul from our primary area of responsibility instead of making the trail come from a ways away to get this one? So this is the first play of the second half. And trails, remember, we want to be at the 28-foot mark. So just come down there right away and we'll be in our good front court position. But ultimately on this one, we have really good center position mechanics and line of vision. So you see we're going to have a dribble drive towards the end line. Center in good position is right where he needs to be to officiate this action. As it goes to the basket, he just turns and faces the action at the center position, doesn't need to move, has a good stationary position, which means our judgment is going to be a lot more accurate when that happens. And you see, as this develops, that 25 does not maintain legal guarding position and plays through the feet of the shooter. In addition, the other defender rises to block the shot and hits the wrist of the shooter. Remember, if we're getting the hand area as part of a block shot attempt, we're not going to have a foul on that. But if we have a wrist or below contact on a shot, then that would be enough for a shooting foul. So um, we do a nice job of being in good position, turning and facing this action, picking up the contact by the defender on the wrist area of the shooter, and properly calling her for a shooting foul. So really well done by the center on this play, and just a good one to be ready with the half, being ready to officiate right away, and we do a nice job on this play. Transition play on this one, and we do a really nice job of having our vision back towards the court, towards the players. We get to the end line and beat the action down. Really good hustle and a nice job of having our vision where it needs to be. And then as the dribbler approaches the basket, we're going to have a case where the defender jumps from A and lands on B and plays with contact through the shooter. So he is properly called for a foul here. He dislodges with the lower body, even though his hands are straight up in the air. His lower body does displace and cause contact with the shooter, and this should be a shooting foul and is properly called by the lead. So really well done on that. And then remember, when we go to the table on this one, we can use signal 56 from the Mechanics Illustrated to indicate that we dislodged with the lower body, because if we come in and report a push or a blocking foul, we might get some pushback on that because that's not really what happened. But let's use the signal available to us in the Mechanics Illustrated to indicate what truly happened, and that was we dislodged with the lower body, and if we use that signal, that will be a more accurate description. But this is really good mechanics and good judgment. Really well done by the lead on this play. So first possession of the game here, and we're going to have a foul called by the lead, a shooting foul. And this is excellent mechanics, positioning, and judgment, and we're ready to officiate. We see on this drive that it's going to be contested by two defenders, and that initial defender, that primary defender, has legal guarding position and maintains it legally and doesn't contact the shooter. But the second defender in does make contact with the shooter in the face and is properly called for a foul. So we mirror the basketball as the lead, as you notice here on the replay, and then we're stationary as this play develops, and then we get our vision exactly where it needs to be to pick this up, which could be tough with that number 25 right there. But number 14 for the defense clearly gets the shooter in the face, and we properly call her for a foul and indicate that using a signal that the shooter was contacted in the face. So this is excellent positioning, excellent mechanics, judgment, and readiness to officiate right away. First play of the game, just an outstanding job here by the lead in this play. And again, um, stationary, looking right at the contact above the waist and picking that up. Trail can assist with travel as needed, but this should be our primary focus, and we get this. This is outstanding work by the lead. Front court drive here and a matchup, competitive matchup at the block on the C side. So we're going to have a shooting foul that's called here. First consideration is picking up the pivot foot once the dribble is picked up. And she picks up the pivot foot but doesn't put it back down. So proper no call for a traveling violation on this play. And center, you're going to have this action all the way because the lead has not initiated a rotation, so you have this action. Remember, we draw a line right down the middle of the paint, and anything to our side as the center is going to be our primary responsibility. So proper no call for a traveling violation. The pivot foot is picked up, but it's not put back down prior to that shot attempt. And then as far as the foul is concerned, we're in good position. We're stationary. We can see that number 25 has a hold of the arm of the shooter. And even though the ball doesn't get away because we'd gathered for that shot attempt, we should give her 2 shots. And so a good job of calling this as a shooting foul, um, good positioning, good vision. This is our responsibility. We need to call this one on this half of the court. And then remember, we're going to have fists in the air and then do our spot mechanics and try not to have 2 hands in the air to indicate that we have a shooting foul or we're going to have a throw in or whatever we're going to have. But ultimately, really good positioning, good judgment, uh, good vision, and then let's close on the action, take a couple steps and close on the action, do our spot mechanics, and then we can take it to the table. But overall, well done on this play. Okay, front court play here. The trail is going to do a nice job of working to the 28-foot mark, nice and low. Excellent positioning. This is exactly what we want to see. And the reason that this is really great and what we want is now we're in perfect position to see this action with the shooter and see the shooter up and down and pick up the shooting foul by the defensive player number 3. And these these elbow contact, wrist contact plays are really hard. And you'll see here on the replay that he absolutely does get a piece of that elbow just a little, and then he pulls it down real quick enough to make you potentially think that he did not get contacted. But this is what causes that shot to be short, and these are really tough plays. But the only way we're really going to have a good shot at it is if we're in proper position, and this trail is in outstanding position at the 28-foot mark and even lower, and then stationary, and we're able to see this elbow contact and give the shooter 2 free throws. So this is outstanding work by the trail, great positioning and judgment, and just exactly what we want to see. On this last play, we're going to have a transition play, and the dribbler is going to go right to the basket, and we have a foul that is called, and the basket is good. So uh, like that we're stationary, that's good. We get down to our initial position, that's also good. But remember that anytime we have a play in the paint that involves a secondary defender, we need to defer to the lead. In this case, the center is the one that calls this foul, and we need to defer to lead because they know how the defender got there, especially in transition, whether they establish legal guarding position or not. And reminder that on legal guarding position as well, that there's no requirement that after legal guarding position is maintained or established, that is, that they have to continue facing their opponent. They can jump in a an angle or in a circle or brace for contact or those kind of things. And so you don't have to jump straight up in the air and keep your chest, his or her chest facing the opponent. So in this case, the defender who's secondary establishes legal guarding position, jumps from A to A and kind of jumps to the side a little bit. And this offensive player initiates the contact with this defender who is legal, in my opinion. And so this should not be a foul. It's probably a no call. I don't think it's something we should have. And the main reason that I think we called it is because as the center, we don't know exactly how this player got there and whether he went from A to A, yet the lead is looking right at it. So let's slow down our mechanics. Let's allow any contact involving a secondary defender. Uh, let's allow the lead to have that play because they know how they got there and how they didn't, and establish legal guarding position, etc. So let's really slow down our mechanics and let them have it, because in this case, I think the defender established legal guard position, rose in his vertical space, maintained verticality, went from A to A, and the contact was initiated by the offense. And therefore, I don't believe we should have a foul called on this play. Okay, that will do it for trading tape number 5. Again, uh, Minnesota officials watching this on the eligibility tab on Arbiter for credit. This is the last one for credit. All remaining trading tapes will be placed on YouTube for viewing at your convenience. But this is the last one required for state tournament consideration on the eligibility tab. And just a couple of things from this: mechanics, positioning, especially as it relates to transition coverage, and then our front court primary responsibilities. So make sure you review that in the Mechanics Illustrated in your pre-games as you head into your games this evening and the weekend. And we're looking to send out 3 more tapes this year. Again, none of them for credit, just view them at your convenience, and hopefully they assist your crew as we go through the end of the season. So with that, have a great evening and weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.